Deep within Germany's Black Forest, where the trees grow so tall they seem to swallow the sky even at noon, lies an old, forgotten trail. The villagers fear it. They call it the Whispering Path. Legend says that if you dare to walk it alone, the forest itself will whisper your name, and sometimes it whispers things no human should ever hear. In a small village nestled at the forest's edge lived a curious boy named Heinrich. His childhood was filled with tales of the forest, stories of a cursed wooden cabin that had stood for centuries, a dark heart in the center of the woods. One stormy night, the village's worst fears came true. A young girl named Lisa vanished without a trace. Every single footprint led directly into the forest, straight toward the Whispering Path. A wave of terror swept through the village, but not for Heinrich. For him, fear was eclipsed by a burning need for answers. The next morning, before the sun had fully risen, he slipped into the forest. His mother's trembling warning echoed in his mind, "The forest doesn't just devour those who enter, it devours their souls." As Heinrich ventured deeper, the familiar woods began to change. The trees twisted into grotesque and natural shapes. The wind carried strange murmurs, soft, insidious voices that seemed to call his name. Hours passed. The forest grew darker, denser. Then, through the gloom, he saw it. A wooden cabin, ancient and leaning, as if exhausted by time itself. Its door was slightly ajar, an open invitation into the darkness. His heart pounded in his chest as he stepped closer. Suddenly, a soft voice drifted from within. "Come in, I've been expecting you." Inside, a woman sat by a dying fire. Her eyes were silver, like frozen moonlight, and she clutched a wooden staff carved with strange, glowing runes. She looked at Heinrich, her gaze ancient and knowing. "Lisa is not the first to vanish," she said, her voice a low hum. "But she could be the last, if you are brave enough." Heinrich's own voice shook as he asked, "Where is she? What does the forest want?" The old woman's expression grew heavy. "The forest is cursed. Every 10 years, it must take the soul of a girl to regain its strength. And today, it claimed Lisa." Heinrich stumbled back in horror. The woman extended a weathered hand toward him. "If you wish to save her, you must enter the Black Passage. But be warned, it tests the soul far more than the flesh." The moment his fingers brushed against hers, the world dissolved. The cabin, the fire, the old woman, all of it vanished. He was standing in a corridor of absolute darkness. It was endless, silent, and suffocating. Whispers slithered around him, echoing from the void, calling his name. "Heinrich, turn back, the forest wants you." Then, he saw a small shadow materialize in the distance, Lisa. It was her silhouette. Hope surged through him, and he ran towards her. But as he reached out to touch her, her face twisted into a black, eyeless mask. She opened her mouth and let out a scream, a sound so powerful, so filled with agony, that the entire passage shattered around him like glass. Heinrich woke up on cold, damp ground, a thick mist clinging to him. This was not the forest. He was somewhere beneath it. Massive, tangled roots hung from the ceiling above like the gnarled fingers of giants. Nearby, a silent, black river flowed, its waters absorbing all light. The old woman appeared before him again, but she was different. Younger, her form shimmering with an otherworldly glow. "I'm not human," she said, her voice now clear and resonant. "I am the guardian of this curse. I am the one who tests those who enter the passage." "Is Lisa alive?" Heinrich demanded, his fear turning to defiance. The guardian pointed a slender finger toward the black river. "Her soul is trapped in the current, caught between life and death. You can save her, but there is a price." Cold dread crept through him. "What price?" Her voice dropped to a whisper, a secret shared between them and the darkness. "If you free her, you must take her place." Before Heinrich could even process the terrible choice, the ground began to tremble violently. A colossal figure rose from the earth behind the guardian. It was made of gnarled branches, twisted roots, and its eyes were to pools of glowing green energy. It was the spirit of the forest. Its voice was not a sound, but a force, like rolling thunder. 300 years ago, it boomed. Humans broke their sacred pact with this land. They destroyed the ancient trees, the heart of the woods. This curse is their punishment. The spirit leaned down, its branch-like face inches from Heinrich's. But a pure soul, a soul like yours, can break the curse, without dying. Heinrich's heart hammered against his ribs. How? You must face 3 trials of the soul, the spirit declared. Only by conquering them will the forest agree to release Lisa and finally heal itself. Heinrich, seeing the only path forward, gave a determined nod. His first ordeal was the trial of echoes. The moment it began, the cavern filled with his own terrified screams, but they were twisted, distorted into monstrous, soul-shattering sounds that clawed at his sanity. He fought the urge to scream again, instead clamping his hands over his ears and focusing on a single, pure memory, the sound of his mother's voice singing a lullaby. The monstrous echoes faded, and he passed. Next came the trial of shadows. Dark, formless figures emerged from the walls, trying to latch onto him, to steal his shape and replace him with a hollow copy. Panic seized him, but he found his strength in his own identity. He shouted his name, over and over, a declaration of his existence. I am Heinrich. With each shout, the shadows recoiled, dissolving into nothingness. Finally, he faced the trial of truth. Illusions materialized before him. He saw his parents, their faces streaked with tears, begging him to abandon his quest and come home. The image was so real, so painful, his heart ached. But he knew it was a trick. This was the forest's final, desperate attempt to break his will. He steeled himself, closed his eyes, and walked straight through the phantoms. At the end of the last trial, he found her. Lisa was suspended in the air, encased in a cocoon of soft, glowing light. He reached out and touched it. The moment his fingers made contact, an explosion of pure, white light filled the entire cavern. The ancient roots above him shook, and the black river began to change, its dark waters turning crystal clear. The forest itself seemed to take a deep, cleansing breath. The curse was breaking. The great spirit of the forest bowed its head to him. You have restored what was lost, it rumbled, its voice now gentle. And then, everything vanished. Heinrich found himself standing on the whispering path, the morning sun filtering through the leaves. Beside him, Lisa stirred. She was alive, and harmed, but remembered nothing of what had happened. The leaning cabin was gone. And the whispers were silent. When they returned to the village, a change was palpable. The forest seemed softer, lighter, breathing with a new life. An elder approached Heinrich, his eyes full of questions. What happened in there, boy? Heinrich looked toward the trees, a quiet understanding on his face. The forest wasn't haunted, he said softly. It was hurting. From that day forward, no one ever vanished from the village again. The whispering path was no longer a place of fear, but a sacred trail, a place of respect. It was a reminder that some wounds can be healed, and that even in the deepest darkness, a single brave heart can bring back the light. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell to join us for more adventures into the unknown.